clairvoyance of being press is limited, and so we rely on press releases. There's really only one bit of catch-up news to do, and that is Yooka-Laylee is now out. We did a review of it, the PC version, last week, when the embargo went up. They released a trailer. I was hoping I was going to get quoted in it. Wasn't. It was the usual people. IGN, DualShockers, a couple of other people. You can read our review on the website. So, go and read our review. And moving on to the news, we're going to start off with a few emails that I have gotten. The first one is from the ESIC, the Esports Integrity Coalition, as they welcome 5 new members. They're welcoming more people to the organisation, and as they say here, to help them become a truly global organisation. For those that don't know, the ESIC is an organisation that is built around the legislation and the standardisation of esports rules. One of its biggest members is ESL. We did a story last week about the a bit of a kerfuffle that was going around in the sort of clarifications of rules with ESL and CSGO, and this release is about getting 5 more members. It's the Esports Middle East, ESME, where the ESIC regulations and its basically its code of conduct has been translated into Arabic and is, well, helping holding integrity seminars in the Middle East. Then there's Nodwin Gaming, which is a Indian company, which is a company that does, well, as it says here, premier tournament organising subcontinent licenses with Valve, ESL, and other lots. So it's, it's an Indian esports company. Thirdly, there's Metal State, which is a South African organiser for esports and esports tournaments. Then there's esportspools.com, or ESP, which is a esports fantasy leagues website. And lastly, there is First Blood, which is a esports sort of gambling website. It's always very fascinating seeing the ESIC almost every week sort of expanding, bringing more companies into the fold, and sort of very much setting the standard set of rules for esports. It's actually very good that there is a company out there which is going, these are the rules, these are the regulations for esports, because, well, it legitimizes esports. And this is an email on Playerunknows Battlegrounds. It's, last time we talked about this, I was saying it made, I think it was $1 million in 3 days. Now it's got to the point where it sold 1 million copies in 16 days, so just about 2 weeks it has sold 1 million copies. Relatively unsurprising, its popularity. It's, it's just something that saying anything critical about it is difficult, because it's just armour and guns scattered in a large map. 50 people scattered over a large map. Last one dies wins. There's very little you can actually say about it in any critical perspective besides the usual shooter mechanics or complaining about that, so not really that much I can really add. And this is a very quick release that I got from Funstock. If you don't know Funstock is a publisher, a book publisher that publishes books around games and gaming. I think I probably have a couple of Funstock books. They're always very good. They're always very insightful because they're always deeply researched, and well, they've been doing a lot of retro ones, which has intrigued me to no end. And part of this, they briefly sort of had mentions of 5 books that are currently available, so might as well have a look at them. They're all retro ones, which is all very, very good. They have it set out as a top 5 thing, so at number 5, there is Push Start, the Art of Video Games book. It's a art book, sort of as a sort of visual guide from the early stages of gaming to contemporary gaming. I've always said that learning about graphics and learning about the visual design of the older games and how they can transfer into the newer ones are always very good, because even during the previous episode, I spent a lot of the time complaining about the Scorpio and how badly it's pushing for 4K and 60 frames a second, even though they are both useless. They mean nothing to the actual goodness of an actual game. And this is one that might be quite interesting like Chris. Number 4 is Generation 64, which, as it says here, the book covers all aspects of this story from the beginning of when the Commodore 64 came to Sweden and its explosion in popularity. And with him being Swedish, and born in the 80s, it's, might be something for him, really. And at number 3, they have Arcade, the book of a classic arcade game artwork, which is, you know the pictures on the side of the arcade boxes? You probably don't know that arcade boxes, what they even look like. God, I used to spend a lot of time in arcades when I was on holiday. It was very fun. And, yeah, again, it's an art book, but it's about the actual art design of the arcade cabinets and the pictures that are on them. It's because some of them are great, because they were like 6-foot bits of actual drawn art on the side of the thing. It was great. This is one that's always fascinated me, because this is about the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, a visual compendium. It always fascinates me because my dad has one. It's one that came out in the 70s. My dad actually has it. So I actually have a ZX Spectrum somewhere buried in this house somewhere. Yeah, so Sinclair ZX Spectrum was at one point one of the big guns for the British gaming industry. And then finally there is the NES Famicom Visual Compendium book. I've talked about this before. It's a compendium book that talks about the NES or the Famicom, depending on region, and talks about the art and the product design and the things. It's a book that is about the NES. It's always fascinating because the NES is it ended up becoming one of the benchmarks for gaming history. So actually having a very critical look at it and how sort of it affected the gaming industry, especially the American gaming industry, where it just took it over, where Nintendo basically established themselves and destroyed everyone else. It's always fascinating to actually sort of know about these sort of set benchmarks within the industry. And with that, we're going to go on to the press releases released through Games Press. There's only really two to talk about, because it's been a very quiet time recently. We're in the period of lulls at the moment. But there are two releases to talk about, and the first one is much more of a corporate thing, and that is We Happy Few has struck a deal with a licensing agency. As they say here, they say Compulsion Games Inc. announced that they have retained Striker Entertainment to act as the worldwide licensing agency on behalf of the video game We Happy Few. And as they say here, right at the very bottom, Striker has already secured several licensees for We Happy Few, including McFarlane for action figures and construction sets, Spirit Halloween for costumes, marks and prop weapons, and Gold Label for print-on-demand soft goods. Products will be available later this year. So, We Happy Few is getting merchandise, and by that I mean proper commercial merchandise. You can expect We Happy Few like the face masks, and then the Bobby masks, and then probably Bobby batons. There's going to be, when they say construction sets, it's probably going to be some form of Lego or Duplo or something along those sort of lines. Construction sets means Lego or K'NEX or Camo, I don't know, I can't think of any more. And soft good mean plushies. There's going to be plushies. We Happy Few plushies. That is going to be fascinating. It's been amazing to see how quickly and how dramatically this has just exploded onto the scene. Last week we were talking about the fact there's at least plans, there's not even a script, but plans for a We Happy Few movie. And the final press release to talk about is the Battlezone PC beta. For people that don't know, Battlezone is a game that came out 20 years ago. That was a vector shooter. It had vector graphics, so it was all sort of line 3D. Think like the first Tron movie, that as a shooter, turret shooter, drive tank shooter thing. It's very fun. It's one of the old games, and it is coming to VR. And I am going to tell you something. I predicted this 2 years ago. And by that I mean I really did predict this 2 years ago. There was a web game that came out called Vector Conflict: The Siege, which was a game that was made in a similar style, and I even said in the video, a very retro-styled game that wouldn't be able to play in the 1980s. The whole game is styled in vector wireframe graphics, much like Battlezone by Atari for arcades all the way back in 1980. This is why the game feels like it would be a great VR arcade experience. It felt like it, leaning back in my swivel chair and wanting to shoot with the joystick on the armrest. All it needs is a headset, a joystick, and a numpad for turning your chair and using specials, and you have yourself a real arcade virtual reality experience from yesteryear. So, yeah, I called this one. You can thank me for this. Going for actual details of the game, they say a limited number of Oculus Rift and HTC Vive users will be invited to the closed beta, which will run for 1 week. Players can sign up now on the Battlezone site, with registration closing this Thursday on April 13th. So you have 3 days? 3 days, including today, 3 days. But even with this closed beta, it is out, or in the process of coming out, for PlayStation VR. So PlayStation VR users are still going to be able to capable of playing it as well. So, yeah, it's going for basically every VR handheld device, sole device, none of your Samsung VR stuff. And that is it for the press releases, and we're going to end again with the UK weekly all-format chart, again graciously supplied by UKIE Limited. There's only one major change, and that is Persona 5 has shot into number 1. The game that I think Atlas didn't really expect to have much response is now number 1 in the all-format chart in the UK. So that has shot to number 1. Ghost Recon hasn't budged an inch. LEGO Worlds hasn't budged an inch. Grand Theft Auto has squeaked up a little bit to number 4, as Mass Effect has gone down. And after that, there's not really that much changes. The LEGO City Undercover has come into number 8. That's because the HD version, the one for the PS4, PC, and Xbox One, has come out. And the Destiny Collection, which is basically, as Destiny draws to a close, it's people bulk buying the DLC in the game now, while it's still live for probably another year before they go, "You're going to Destiny 2 now!" And to end, here are the games that are going to be coming out this week. We have Brand Color Quiz for Android, Aereo for PC, PS4 and Xbox One, Dovetail Games Eurofishing for PS4 and Xbox One, Kiro Blaster for PS4, Lichspiel for PlayStation Vita, Snow Moto Racing Freedom for PC and PS4, Symphony of the Machine for PC Online, the Sexy Brutal Full House Edition for PS4, Yooka-Laylee, again, we did a review last week, you can find it on the website, for PC, PS4 and Xbox One, with the Switch version coming out at some unbeknownst to date. Symphony of the Machine for PC and PS4 Online, Mr. Shifty for Nintendo Switch Online, A Rose in the Twilight for PS Vita, Heroes Arena for iOS, and The Search for PC Online. And so that is it. If you found this video informative or like the video, please consider subscribing and sharing the video around. And for now, I will see you on Friday for the next Press Rush.